Well, g'day folks, how's it going? This is Flat Earth Aussie Jesus here, just giving you a bit of an update on the weather. Because you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. I should have grabbed a drink earlier. Today I'm being totally sober. Ugh, it tastes just like water. Maybe I'll leave a beer. Ugh. Anyway, just kidding. So this is the weekend where we have this Splinter in the Arse festival, or as it's more popularly known as Splendour in the Grass. It's one of these festivals that invades upon the Byron Shire once a year, just as the East Coast Blues and Roots Festival does, and every time we are subjected to what we call festival weather. Not every single time, I must admit. There has been the odd Splinter in the Arse where we've had perfect, beautiful, sunny weather as we're experiencing outside right at this moment, as you can see outside my basement window. Well, you can't, because I can. It's beautiful and sunny out there. Would you like a look? Right. See? Beautiful and sunny. Anyway, back to the question at hand here, is that I've been a weather watcher for most of my life. I think we all do. Something we all have in common. Or how hot is it, eh? How's the weather? Bloody hell, there's rain, etc, etc. We all talk about the weather because the weather affects our daily lives, our moods, our pretty much everything. And our health, you name it. The more rain we get prolonged, the more depressed we get. So, one thing I've noticed about festival weather is, since I noticed from the time that my youngest child, who's now 19 years old, or pretty much, was in her mother's womb, was that her mother got extremely sick with this atypical pneumonia just after an event just like this called Splendour in the Grass at Byron Bay. And along with that, plenty of other businesses, me having my little pet shop down in the corner of the Woolies Plaza at the time, got to talk with a lot of other business owners, and they said the same sort of thing, like, you know, more than 2/3. Okay, Ben. More than 2/3 of their staff were taking time off sick. Coincidence? I think not. The wife got hospitalised with atypical pneumonia, and that is when I first found out about chemtrails and how they're controlling the weather. Now, over this last week, whoa, what do you know, the sun has come out. We've had nothing but rain for like nearly flood level rain for the last few weeks prior to that. It's finally cleared up, it's finally drying out, and so it will be interesting to see what actually happens this weekend. Tell you an interesting thing too. I used to post regularly on Facebook. I've stopped doing it now because I don't give a damn about Facebook. But one thing was, on the freezing cold morning, which was Wednesday morning, when we had the Lunar Eclipse, by the way. Don't know if any of you caught that. It was spectacular. Awesome lunar eclipse. Talk about that another time. It was freezing cold and frosty, but the day turned out to become very hot through the day. My Facebook post from a year ago said that exact same thing, but without the lunar eclipse, about how freezing cold it was that morning. And every time I look back at memories on Facebook, when I've talked about the weather, we get that exact same thing to the day the following year. It is as though our weather is now in a scripted pattern. And this is how they're controlling it. This is how it works. I mean, we don't always get the the typhoons and the floods and tropical cyclones and all the rest. But when I just write about a normal day, nothing specific, no major event, just how freezing cold, but how hot it got later in the day, lo and behold, a year later, mirror image of it. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens this weekend with the Splinter in the Arse festival going on. Now, because I've been very fortunate to be working in a place with an excellent view of a beautiful valley down near Beck's Hill, And watching the planes go by every day, watching the odd helicopters, watching the patterns, watching the chemtrails on some days, watching how it all works. This last week, not a cloud in the sky, not a chemtrail in the sky, but the planes, the aeroplanes, doing something completely different. They're flying much lower and on a completely different trajectory from how they normally go. They normally fly much higher, and they're actually coming sort of southwest to northeast, the ones we see. But yesterday was the example I'm thinking of, much lower and flying in strange directions that you don't normally see. Now I've got a pretty good ear and eye for aeroplanes, know what's going on. You know, the helicopters that came over through the week, yesterday we had one that came over pretty much east to west, a little bit northish to southish, but this one was a light blue with a bit of white on it. Made you think of maybe that's a police helicopter, because the one I saw 2 days before that was mostly white with just a little bit of blue, flying a bit higher, also going the same direction. That's what you'd expect a police helicopter to look like. And then the one in between, yesterday, this was a black helicopter, and it was flying more from slightly southeast to west. So yeah, I keep an eye and ear out on everything. I see every little bird that flies around. I'm in tune. I know what's going on. And these planes yesterday flying that low makes me think that they're not spraying chemtrails as such, but they're still definitely spraying something in the air. They're seeding the sky with something. Whatever that might be, who knows. But it will be interesting to see over the weekend. Today's been Friday, just after midday. It's actually 1 o'clock, I think. Nearly 1 o'clock. Time I got back to work. It will be interesting to watch over the weekend. After the rain finished last weekend, the locals in the know and everybody who obviously gets information from the news. I don't watch the news. I listen to it on the radio when I'm driving. That's the only mainstream news I get. But everybody's been saying that that's the end of the rain. It's now going to be dry for the next couple of months. Good. I hope it is, because winter time is just beautiful here when we get these gorgeous sunny days like this. Go out and work in the sun and it just feels great, unlike summer where you're just looking for shade the whole time. It's thinking hot and horrible. Winters here are great when we get this sort of weather. So I hope the rain has gone. Won't be good for the farmers, of course, because it only takes a week and it's all dried out. So this weekend we will see. Are they going to manufacture a weather event? Because we should technically be having perfect weather all weekend. I actually predict we will. That's my thoughts on the matter. But whatever they were spraying in the air yesterday, it will be interesting to see what it does to people's health, how the weather actually does pan out, whether or not we get a storm event on Saturday afternoon or Sunday, maybe Saturday night even. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. I might even go for a drive this evening and go and watch the sunset. It'll be a good night for it this time of year. Take some pictures of all the different layers of the neon gases as they're glowing as the sun gets further and further away, and just see what events are going on around in the sky and see whether or not they are manufacturing some weather for this weekend. It will be interesting to see. So that's just a short video. Just going to wrap this up real quick and just quickly mention about the eclipse now, since it was such a magnificent event. For anybody who caught it, wow. So I was driving down towards what they call the Bluff. It's when you're coming out of Clunes, which is this really high sort of place, and then you get to this mountain peak which overlooks all of Bexhill and Lismore beyond. Is that it's a magnificent view. And as soon as I step out my front door up here, you can see the moon over there heading towards the west, where it's getting ready to set in another half an hour or so. And here's this little chunk taken out of it, like a bite out of a cookie. And I went, oh, is it the eclipse already? I knew there was one coming. Of course, Wednesday morning, 5:19 a.m. That's the eclipse starting to happen. And as I drove, a bit more and more of this cookie was getting bitten out. So here's the moon and here's the little bite out of it, out the side here, coming from the right hand side, working its way across. Now, picture this. You got the moon in front of you, the sun rising behind you, and they say it's the shadow of the Earth causing a lunar eclipse. So, moon's going that way, sun's coming up this way, Earth's in the middle, but the shadow comes from over here and starts eating into the moon. That does not make any sense in the heliocentric model. I don't care how you try and explain that one away, because this one came from directly at the right, slightly above centre, and worked its way across until by the time the moon disappeared behind the mountain in front of us, down in the valley where it's a little bit foggy, it was covering about a third of the entire moon in a big arc shape like that. Now, I don't know about you, but you should try this then. Try getting a ball to make a shadow on another ball and see what shape it makes. Then get a flat piece of card, square shaped, and drag that across the top of a ball, making a shadow on it, and see what shape that makes. I mean, obviously the sun isn't going below the Earth or coming up from behind the Earth, it's just coming from the distance. It's approaching, causing the noble gases to glow, and we're getting our dawn, beautiful light, and eventually it gets far enough that the nearby objects stop obscuring it, and that's where we say it's risen. Same as with the moon, it just gets further and further away until the nearby objects like the mountains obscures it. There's no rising or setting, it's just distance and perspective. But apart from that, the eclipse proves we are not on a spinning ball, and it is not the shadow of the Earth causing the eclipse. There must be some other celestial object that comes between the sun and the moon on many occasions. In fact, I've even got some pictures which did work. All the pictures I took of the eclipse, bloody new phone had already run out of memory because I tested the video to see how long it could make videos for, and chewed up all the memory. Lost all those beautiful pictures, lost the beautiful pictures of the 2 hot air balloons they put up that morning afterwards. I'm out of recording space. Gotta go. I'll show these pictures later. The Earth is flat. That is that. Stay cool. Have a good one. Talk to you soon. Cheers.